Hello! Thank you for coming to this video today, guys. I really appreciate it. This is going to be the Iog Monthly Recap. They do this development update where they kind of talk all things Cardano, right? They talk about Goguen, Voltaire, what's happening, and I'm just going to be taking that 2.5-hour highly technical video and kind of summing it up in a 20-minute video. So if you're interested in all that stuff, if you're interested in the hard fork combinator, token locking, metadata in the transaction, Goguen, more languages that you can write, dev tools, then you should stay for this video. It's pretty awesome. But first off, before we jump into that, if you want to support me, the best way you can do so is delegating to Bloom. We have Bloom through Bloom 6. Also, all current delegates of the original Bloom pool, please move to another pool within 3 days or you will lose rewards. Please move now. It will not cost you any more ADA to move other than the 0.17 fee. You won't have any lapse in rewards like you did the first time you delegated, but please move. We want to get it down about 6 more million. If you're in a Bloom pool above 63.5 million, please move to another stake pool. To say thank you and also to incentivize the move, we have a 20% reduction in fees on the new Bloom pools, and that's also a 20% decrease in profit for us on those pools. So we'll have that going for another 2 epochs. Oh, another way you can support me is leave a like on this video, comment down below, and click the notification bell and click all. I also have a Twitter under Big Pay YT, capital YT. I also provide stake pool consultation, where I either just set up and run your stake pool for you, or I charge an hourly rate to walk you through the whole process. You can email me at peyton@bloompool.io for that. But let's jump into the video. So it's also important for us to take a look at the ERC20 versus Cardano native tokens. So relationship to blockchain, we talked about this earlier. It's native, most functionality is built into the ledger itself, versus Ethereum, where it's a contract standard, right? Users copy and paste the standard code and modify it. So there's a big difference there, right? It's with Cardano, it's already built in, right? Transfer logic provided by the Cardano ledger itself, or with Ethereum, it's just copying and pasting from the ERC20 template. And then controlled by a forging policy script and any scripting language supported by Cardano. There's going to be many scripting languages supported by Cardano, but more on that later. And then with Ethereum, you can only use a Solidity smart contract. So with Cardano, smart contract not required to transfer, which is awesome. So it's saying if you want to bring something over to Cardano or move something away from Cardano, you don't have to actually transfer the smart contract, right? So if you have a Cardano native token, let's call it Bloom coin, you don't have to actually pay or not. You don't actually have to switch that smart contract over to another chain. Can be used by other smart contracts without special support. That's a yes on Cardano native token, but a no on ERC20. Can be transferred alongside other tokens. This is interesting to me, right? So you can essentially have like a token bundle, and this is nice, right? Because imagine if you want to send a little bit of ETH, a little bit of BAT, a little bit of USDC, maybe some AGI, right? All ERC20 tokens. Well, you can only send them one at a time, and that gets pretty expensive on the Ethereum blockchain. I mean, I do a one transaction, and it costs me $7, right? So being able to not only have less fees, but being able to send multiple at the same time with one transaction is pretty cool. It's definitely a power user thing, though. I know many people won't be using that. So no special fees required to transfer, and that's for Cardano native tokens. So that's interesting. I'm curious on how that'll work. You can move tokens over without any special fee or move tokens away without a fee. Additional event handling logic not required to track transfers. It's a check for native tokens, but a no. So essentially what event handling logic is programming terms. It's event, so you're essentially looking for a certain event, and then it's the logic that you use to handle that event, right? So they're saying that you don't actually have to worry about that with the Cardano blockchain. Let me see that bottom one for us real quick. Okay, so the bottom one is supports non-fungible tokens. So the Cardano native tokens does. So day one with Cardano native tokens, we will be able to support NFTs, which is really, really important, whereas you can't with ERC20, right? If you have any questions, feel free to comment down below or join the Discord server.
Creation process is going to look like, and it's going to be part of the ERC20 converter. So it's enough for me to go to create token. I define the name of the token, for example, IOG token, then the symbol of the token, IOG, the amount of tokens that I want to mint, for example, 1,000, and the decimals that I want to have. In this particular case, I have a monetary policy that is predefined, but I can basically set up any monetary policy that I want. Now I cannot create a token because the network is not live, but basically by just clicking on create token, you'll be able to create a token as easy as that. We believe that the token creation is going to be as important as the conversion of tokens, but it's also important to keep the same user experience that we have for the token conversion.
All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that on the token builder. There's some exciting user experiences updates for native tokens on that, and even with the ERC20.
I mean, you guys got to admit, that's pretty crazy, right? I mean, that's, as far as like ease of use, ease of creating tokens, that's very simple, right? All you did was type the name, reference the picture, and you probably just use some metadata for that. And then following that, you reference the monetary policy, right? I think the monetary policy is where it gets a little bit more complicated, right? Because you have to write some sort of contract for that, especially as you get more convoluted, like say like a governance system, or say like we have a Bloom token, and we pay you rewards if you stake with Bloom, and then at the same time you get Bloom rewards like for staking the Bloom tokens, right? So the monetary policy, I'm sure, can get very complicated, but it's not just about tokens, right? It's also about smart contracts, right? Because even though you have non-fungible tokens, or not non-fungible tokens, I keep mixing that up. Even though you have native tokens on Cardano, you also have to have interoperability between smart contracts, right? And I said I was going to talk more about languages, but look at these. So we have EVM. So EVM stands for Ethereum Virtual Machine. This is what runs smart contracts on Ethereum. And this is all what's going to come to Cardano, right? So we have Solidity. Ethereum uses Solidity, a high-level language similar to JavaScript, Python, and C++. It cannot be executed by the EVM directly and is compiled to assembly language, EVM bytecode. This is KEVM. This is an EVM that has been validated by K. It is 99.9% compatible with EVM. More on this later. We're also going to be going over at Charles Hoskinson's video. He did a great job breaking that down, but I don't want to miss that. And then we're going to be talking about these other three down here a little bit more later with the Charles Hoskinson video, but I wanted to talk about this. It's really nice to see all of these different languages for smart contracts coming to Cardano because, in my opinion, usually with things, each language has a specialization for developers, right? So not only are you bringing more developers into the ecosystem, if they're not willing to learn more languages, you're offering them specialization, right? Because maybe a certain language will be better for others, you know, or maybe Plutus just knocks all of them out of the park. You know, you never know, but I do like to see the interoperability between these languages and also the smart contracts. I mean, that's amazing. This just kind of really blew my mind today. Just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you to Alien Stake Pool for the sponsor of this video. It's an awesome video, the Goguen Recap. Thank you, Alien Stake Pool, for sponsoring this video. I really appreciate it. So I want to include this real quick summary. So metadata, native tokens, pre-pod to mainnet, which is really cool. So ERC20 converter to productize, token launching HFC event or token locking HFC event. So we didn't talk about that. So we'll go over the metadata real quick and also the token locking hard fork combinator event upgrade. So what's beautiful about Cardano is the hard fork combinator events. They happen seamless. Really, all stake pool operators have to do is just update their node before the hard fork combinator event. And I think they're actually will let you not have to update, right? I'm going to update. I like to stay up to date, at least after other people try it. But this hard fork combinator event is going to add token locking. So you might be thinking, what is token locking? What does that do? What does that mean? This is what we are waiting on for Voltaire, right? We've been waiting on the Project Catalyst vote. You know, there's a lot of great projects on there. Like, for example, my podcast that I've been asking you guys to vote for a while, but you haven't been able to. The reason you haven't been able to is because we don't have token locking on Cardano. Because think about what you could do if you didn't have token locking. You could just vote for the Cardano Aura podcast, send the ADA to another address, vote for the Cardano Aura podcast, send the ADA to a different address, and then get the rewards for voting on each of those wallets, right? Keep in mind, if you guys do like this channel, please subscribe, click that notification bell, and I will actually have videos on how to vote, how to register to vote, every step of the way for both wallets. Make sure you guys tune into those. But yeah, so we're going to have token locking. And then you guys might be curious about the metadata. I've gone over it, but I'll go over it again. There's a lot of new people in Cardano. So what metadata is so all right, let's start with the basics, right? So you have a block, right? And all a block is data, right? And within that data, all we can really have in there right now is transactions, right? So within that transaction, so let's say you're making a transaction, and when you're using Daedalus and you send ADA to somebody else, I could do that in the command line, right? In the command line, you just type out text. It's a lot simpler than it sounds. You literally just type in Cardano CLI, Shelly, or transaction, whatever you want to do, but you can do transaction, and then you reference a JSON file. And a JSON file is just a formatted text file, right? And in that formatted text file, you can have a vote, right? So you can have it, let's say vote 1, and then there'll be a vote ID, right? So maybe it's the Cardano Aura podcast and it's just a hash, right? So essentially, it's going to be easy for you. You're just going to be in Daedalus. You click this, or it's going to be in the Project Catalyst app. You scan your code so you get the voting tokens in there. And then from there, it'll generate that. But all it's doing is referencing a metadata file, and that metadata file is an organized text file. And that organized text file has data on your vote, right? So it's all coming together for you now, isn't it? So you have to lock the tokens. After you create the metadata file, you submit the metadata file on the blockchain. It's saved forever, and all that's in that block is a transaction, and within that transaction is the metadata, right? And the metadata is your vote. And it can be a lot more things, but voting is what's most important to us. You know, we're all here for the voting aspect, and there can be a lot more stuff that's awesome about this in the future. But I hope that explains everything for you. So let's finish the recap. We have KVEM, IELE. We're going to have more on this stuff later. It's very important. I know it's just 4-letter words right now, but man, this is a good day. I'm excited. You guys see I'm geeked. It's 5 p.m. and I'm still hype. Plutus Playground to DevNet, and then partnerships, right? So a lot of cool stuff coming. Okay, so if you guys have noticed, I'm trying to take all of this information and simplify it, you know, for people that aren't into the technical knowledge, but you can still see the value if it's simplified and you understand it, right? This is a hard one. I really recommend you just going and watching this yourself. He just released it right after the stream. It's from Charles Hoskinson. I'll have the link down below. It's called The Island, the Ocean, and the Pond. It's pretty complicated, but I hope with the information I give you in this video today, you'll be able to go there and you'll watch it and you'll be like, wow. Because that's what everyone else is thinking. You know, he's damn good at taking technical knowledge and summing it up for the average user. And I'm not up there yet, right? It might take me 10 years to get as good as he is at that. He's been doing this for 10 years. But let's talk about the island, the ocean, and the pond, right? So the pond, let's start off. So the pond, he's speaking about developing languages, right? Or smart contract languages like we went over earlier. So the pond is what other blockchains already use, right? So for example, with Ethereum, you know, you have Solidity, and then we have the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine we went over earlier, and then other languages like Viper. So that's a pond. And the reason he says pond, it's just a metaphor for saying, like, even though it seems like everyone uses this language because we're all in the cryptocurrency space, we have this shield around us, as if that's the only languages that developers will use, when that's not true. That's just a tiny fraction of the developer community. And this pond is just those languages, just those blockchain languages, whereas the ocean is the wider array of developing languages, right? So let's talk about like JavaScript, right? JavaScript has a lot of users, C++, C, C#, just all of the, like PHP, Ruby, just all of these languages. That's the ocean, right? That's the developers that, or not the developers, but the languages that have, let's say, 10 million users, right? I think JavaScript has way over 10 million users, and 10 million users compared to the amount of people that know Solidity is nothing, right? It's nothing. So then the final thing is the island, and the island is Plutus and Marlowe. And Plutus and Marlowe, I'm sure you guys have heard about them many times. Plutus is a specialized version of Haskell built specifically for Cardano, right? Whereas Marlowe is the easy to use, like, whereas you can kind of just put puzzle pieces together to actually kind of build a smart contract, right? It's what the average person will be able to use. I've used it before. It's pretty simple. I'm sure you'll see more on it in the future. It's really nice. And essentially this metaphor that he's creating is he's saying that this island is designed specifically for this. And he believes that these two languages, they're backed by science, and everyone in his team is very, very proud of them, are the best languages to use. But at the same time, he knows that if you use those languages, you can get out of the water, you can design better, right? You can specialize in those. But he knows that there's an ocean and a pond, and the pond is bigger and then the ocean is bigger. And if anyone decides to climb up on that island, they can learn the language and do it, right? But he knows that he has to combine all of these languages and give all developers the ability to build and write smart contracts on Cardano. So when we talk about Solidity, right, the smart contracting language for Ethereum, and we say people will be able to use Solidity to write for Cardano, to me that kind of sounds like a pipe dream, right? It sounds like something that we're going to hear is like, 6 months down the road, right? Oh, we're going to have the ability. It's going to come after Goguen. It's going to be down the road. The testnet starts December 10th. That blew my mind. December 10th? I mean, that's crazy. I mean, I literally thought this was going to be like, oh, you know, after we have support for Plutus and Marlowe, then we'll have Solidity, you know, then we'll have the people, the developers that are in the pond, right? But the issue is you need this for the ERC20 converter, right? So what it's going to be is it's going to be a side chain with EVM and Solidity, and it's going to constantly be updated and maintained with Ethereum, right? So a new update comes out for EVM, a new update comes out for Ethereum. Whoever's taking care of Cardano, whoever's developing on Cardano, or maybe a whole different team is doing it, right? Because we're moving towards this where it's not going to be just IOG anymore. It's going to be a bunch of different teams, right? So eventually, not eventually, December 10th, the testnet starts. Eventually, a different team will probably be keeping this EVM and this Ethereum up to date. But right now, IOG is going to be doing it. EVM, the Ethereum, and Solidity will constantly update as Ethereum updates. That's very important. It's going to be on a side chain. I mean, that's insane. I mean, you can see all of the users that'll bring over and all of the developers that'll bring over. I mean, that's just crazy. December 10th, the testnet starts. And when testnets start, it's usually going to be a few months after, or maybe even a month, maybe 2 months. That's insane, you know? I mean, it could be longer, but just having the testnet this early on to give you guys some information about how long testnets normally last. I got invited to the Friends and Family testnet, I want to say like June 10th, June 20th, and Shelly was out August 1st. So, I mean, it's not very long, a month and a half. So we're getting in the weeds here. I'm going to try my best to break this down for you guys, but it's very complicated, right? So there has to be a way to bring this ocean that we're talking about, all of these languages that like .NET, which is C#, C++, you know, JavaScript. There has to be a way, or just Java. There has to be a way to bring these languages to allow people to write contracts, write whatever they need with them, and be able to run these on the blockchain. Well, how are we going to do that? Right? I mean, there's different contrasting things between each of these languages, and that's where this K comes in, and the K is meta language, right? And then, so you have LLVM. LLVM was developed by Apple in 2003, and then someone else built on top of that, and it's called IELE, and I forget how he pronounces it. It's like Ella, I think he says it. It's like a nice name, Ella. And Ella was designed off of the LLVM, but it essentially allows it to where any of these languages, so we go to RV, which was developed in 2017, they eventually didn't have the money for this, but they're bringing it back, right, which is Yella. So now we have this meta language, and I know it doesn't, I'm not connecting it together yet, but I will, I promise. So you have this meta language, and what the meta language is it takes these different languages and it compares and contrasts the difference, right? So then after you do that, Yella is what compiles the languages. And that's really it. This is how, and I'm going to release more on this when I learn more. I'm going to watch this video a couple more times, but this is just the general breakdown. I very, very strongly recommend you just to go watch this video. He obviously is going to explain it better than I am. He's had a lot more practice doing this, but I'm gonna probably make a video on this whole thing. It's very interesting. It's very neat. I mean, can you imagine taking a bunch of different languages and having one thing compile them into a code that everybody can read, and then have a meta language that actually compares and contrasts the different languages? I mean, that's insane. That's just crazy. This is like to me, it just seems like a piece of engineering that is just insane. I mean, it really blows my mind, and I'm not even smart enough. It's not that I'm not smart enough. I'm not educated enough to comprehend it just yet. But with my lack of knowledge, I am amazed. I mean, I'm just amazed. And this is how they're going to be adding these languages. But this is 3 to 5 years away. It's not going to just be December 10th like Solidity. But still, it's very cool. Very happy about that. Well, that's the end of the video. That's the monthly product update. I hope you guys enjoy it. They're doing another one on the 17th. If you guys are interested in that, Angie made it to the end of the video. I'm going to be scheduling a watch party where I come in, we do a little AMA, I answer questions in the chat, but we go full screen, let it talk. We learn about the Goguen news. Following that, I do a little AMA at the end. So essentially, we just have a little hype session before, then we kind of do a recap at the end. I break down all the technical knowledge for you at the end, and then I also do that a little bit in the chat. So if you guys are interested in that, type in December 17th watch party in the description, or not in the description, the comment section down below. If you haven't already, please leave a like on this video, click that notification bell, click all. Also, if you guys have any questions about any of this stuff, I try to answer as many questions as I can. I usually get all of them. You know, I might miss one here and there, but feel free to comment down below. Wouldn't bother me one bit. Also, one more big shout out to Alien Stake Pool. I appreciate you sponsoring this video, Alien Stake Pool. But that's it. I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. I do have another live stream coming out tomorrow. I know it's been a busy week. Sorry for all the content, but we're going to be having the lead dev from Ergo on. It's going to be a good time. I hope you guys can make it there. It'll be at 3 p.m. EST. Goodbye.